The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to begin today's episode with a correction. It's not often that I get something wrong, but I do get things wrong. And when I do, I'm more than happy to correct it. And this one is well, you decide how big of a correction it is when I give the proper context for it. Yesterday, I said at about the 16-minute mark, and a special thanks to the brother on Twitter. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I don't have your Twitter handle in front of you. I apologize, but thank you for bringing it to my attention. Yesterday, around the 16-minute mark on the show, I said that Tulsi Gabbard has not agreed to has not pledged, rather, to vote for the Democratic nominee. That's not entirely accurate. Here's what's accurate after doing more research, which I should have done yesterday. I should have done better research yesterday before I said the statement. But here's what is accurate. She has said on television that there isn't any circumstance that she can foresee that would stop her from voting for the nominee. So this is what she has said on television. What I was referring to was a single pledge that is being facilitated by indivisible.org that has gotten a pledge from every candidate except for 1, 2, 3, 4 candidates. And these candidates are saying that they are agreeing to vote for whoever the eventual nominee is. Of those 4, Tulsi Gabbard is one of the 4 who said that she is not, who has not taken that pledge. So there's 2 different things. Tulsi Gabbard's affirmative words, what she has said in public, is that she doesn't see any circumstance under which she would not support the eventual nominee. She has not taken the pledge, this individual pledge, from indivisible.org. There is a distinction to be made. I did not make that distinction yesterday, and because of that, I wanted to begin today's show with the correction. All right, now let's pick up with the rest of the show. I was interested in talking about Donald Trump calling what's happening to him in the impeachment inquiry a lynching, but I think that's sufficient. I've mentioned it, and you know how utterly absurd it is and how much it won't make any difference that he says these ridiculous things. But I wanted to cover it, and so it's been covered. Okay, in other news, the thing that's important to me that I have not had a chance to talk about over the last couple of days because of what's been happening in the primaries is Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, and their role in American politics. Hell, their role in this experiment of democracy. And Elizabeth Warren's direct head-to-head attack. You know, she's taking them on. And that's one of the things I respect about her the most, because not many people are taking him on. I think Bernie takes him on from time to time, but Elizabeth Warren is making it her thing. And it needs to be. Mark Zuckerberg has an inordinate amount of influence over the entire experiment of democracy, not just Facebook, not just the American election, but democracy in general. And it places the profit motive, capitalism, but the pure desire to make money behind as a function of democracy now, because he has so much reach. I mean, the billions of users that they have, his ability to control what is said and what's not said, his ability to determine, and most recently it was his determination that he would not take down advertisements from politicians that were known to be false. And he essentially said that's just something that we're going to have to deal with. Right. So here's a man who has one person who has the ability to decide how millions upon millions of people are advertised to by politicians. And he's saying that, oh, well, that's just something we're going to have to live with, lying politicians. And the fact that he can make that kind of decision in isolation, a decision that could irrevocably change our democratic experiment, even though our democratic experiment is kind of staggering and stumbling through the streets like a drunken sailor. even though democracy isn't doing that good, we have one man, Mark Zuckerberg, who is uniquely positioned to kill it altogether or to complete the process of selling democracy completely over to corporate interests and people with the most money. Because ultimately, that's who is dictating this. He's making these decisions based on his bottom line. And because we already know that there is an incentive, a disadvantage that leftists and progressives and liberals have in terms of corporate money. We're not going to be the receivers of that much corporate money because we plan on taxing them. Our agenda is to tax them. And because we have that intrinsic, inherent disadvantage, this generally means that this decision, which basically says whoever has the most money can lie as much as they want to, and Facebook will give them the biggest audience imaginable, and Facebook will do nothing about the distortion, the half-truth, the propaganda. They won't do anything. The people who win are the people with the most money. And in this case, it has always been conservatives who have access to the most money because of the profit motive. They are out to cut taxes to nothing, to make sure that their corporate overlords have nothing that they have to pay to this government, even though they extract all of their wealth from all the many things that this government, this social contract that we have collectively provide: the highways, the education, the talent, the labor, all the things that we as a people in this agreed upon social contract, all these things that we generate for these corporations, they want no responsibility to them. And because of that, they do gravitate to the party that says, hell, we don't want any responsibility to it either. Basically, F those kids. F justice. Oh, man, forget about the environment. Who cares about the environment? And so those people are in alignment. Corporations and the Republican Party are in alignment to pour as much money as they possibly can into platforms that can change the conversation, platforms that are uniquely perched in our democracy to change the discourse and to push the Overton window further to the right. So they are more than happy to pour millions upon millions, and I'm talking probably into the billions of dollars in advertising revenue into Facebook. Because one, that's where the people are. And then two, they don't even have the requirements that they have for the news, for radio. They can say things that are untrue completely. And all of this is being decided by one man, one insecure, extremely wealthy, I believe megalomaniac. I was going to say megalomaniacal. I make up some words out of this world. But it's all being decided by one little man who honestly believes that he is ordained to make these decisions for democracy. And I say it like that because if he doesn't take a step back and think about the responsibility that he has to democracy by the sheer virtue of the size of his platform and what his platform represents, then he is making a statement, right? Even if he doesn't take a step back and recognize his responsibility and behave accordingly, then he's obviously operating in the opposite, which is whatever I decide, it's what it's going to be for democracy. How unimaginably powerful this boy has become. How unimaginably. One person who, by the way, has a penchant for collecting every single data point on you imaginable, listens to your conversations whenever you use the Messenger app, sends you advertisements based on things that you said out loud because your phone is listening to you specifically through Instagram and Facebook. A man who knows every little secret about you. If he wanted to pull up your master file and all the data and all the sites that you came from on your way to Facebook and all the sites that you went to as you left Facebook, all those porn sites that you visited right before your particular type of porn that you like, Facebook knows that. So you have a boy who believes that he is in the right to make this decision in isolation that campaigns can make advertisements, make lies in advertisements, and he won't do anything about it, which will inordinately benefit the conservative movement, which doesn't give a damn about our environment, about justice, about the future. They are a death cult. They have made an agreement amongst themselves to make as much money as they can and live as exorbitantly as they possibly can and watch the world burn, because they clearly do not believe that the world is going to be here in 50 years, or else they would not engage in some of the activities they behave in. Those are the people who are going to benefit the most from this decision that Mark Zuckerberg made in isolation. I think it is critically important that Facebook and all of these platforms be broken up. In fact, I think it should become standard operating procedure in our country to break up every trust, every monopoly. Every time a monopoly rears its ugly head, we need to have a consistent practice of congratulations, you've succeeded in becoming a great, ginormous corporation, and now it is in the best interest of democracy, of society, and in fact, humanity, that we break your shit up. I'll be back after this.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
And as always, at this point in today's show, I'd like to thank all of our newest patrons without whom this show is not possible. Special thanks to Isaac E. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Samara W. Thank you for becoming a patron. Sarah S. Thank you for becoming a patron. Andy T. Thank you for becoming a patron. And special thank you to my homegirl. I don't think she'll mind if I say her whole name. I hope you don't mind. Well, just in case you do mind. Jamie M. Thank you for increasing the amount that you're donating. And, Jamie said something in her message yesterday that really means a lot to me. She said that, and I'll try to, I'm only going to say the appropriate things, right? Don't worry. She said that my show has been critical in helping her not go off into the contrarian left because of the techniques. And I'm paraphrasing, because of the techniques that a lot of contrarian leftists use, a lot of the manipulative techniques, playing on people's emotions, playing on people's, our natural penchant to become fixated with an issue, to become obsessed. I have that same problem. That's one of the reasons I've taken a hard stance against conspiracy theories. If it feels like a conspiracy theory, I'm going to not turn a blind eye to it, but I'm going to side eye. I don't turn a blind eye, but I will side eye it, because it's important for us not to play to that. Because it's a profitable lane. It is so profitable to play to the conspiracy theory and to play to the fixation that we all have to greater or lesser extent, to become obsessed with an issue. It's really easy to make money off of that. But I think it is dangerous, and I think it is disingenuous, and I think it's a detriment to the progressive movement. So when she said that in her message yesterday as to why she was increasing her patronage, it really means a lot. And if I guess I could just expound right there just for a few minutes before I go to another topic. One thing, someone else mentioned on a comment on YouTube, and I want to thank you for this, but they're like, Ben, we know that you're an extremely humble guy, but your voice is so critical right now. And, in general, I don't brag, and I don't even promote myself. Like, I know there are people who are fans of my show, and they're like, damn it, Ben, why don't you just go blow up? Why don't you blow up and let more people hear you? Why don't you fight harder? It's because it really has been a very difficult thing for me to assert myself as an influencer, as a person who has something important to say, not because I don't trust or believe in what I have to say, but because it's just not naturally in my personality. It's literally something I'm having to learn as I do this show. And, thankfully, I've had some extremely difficult times this year. And so difficult that it has irrevocably changed my personality. So now my personality is changing for the good, in the sense that I am so much more a fighter for the right reason. Like Star Wars, the new Star Wars movies coming out, and Poe, the black guy, he was Bodega, I believe is his last name. He said, good people will fight if we lead them. And I think that really is the message for 2020, the election. I think it is the message for my show and me as an individual. And quite frankly, I think it's a message for you, because what I had to learn the hard way is that I have to be willing to be as Machiavellian and cutthroat for the good reasons, because there's so many people in our spaces. There's so many people in politics in general, so many people in the nonprofit sector. And God knows, I mean, we just got through talking about what's the Pinocchio ass dude, Mark Zuckerberg, right? You have those type of people who are Machiavellian and are cutthroat in corporate America. And so we're surrounded by wolves, and it does you no good for people with the right intentions and people who are true believers. It does you no good for us to walk around here humble and timid and waiting for someone else to tell us that we're good. No, it's time for us to lead. Every one of us. It's in our own way, in our own lane. It's time for us to lead the fight, because good people will follow us. Good people will fight if we lead them. So I just wanted to throw that in there for free. And all right, so let's talk some more politics. Yeah. Shout out to Patrick. Patrick, one of my longest time supporting patrons, said, man, if I don't stop hyping it up and go ahead and drop a few bars, I just need to stop hyping it up. You're like, do it or not. Either I'm going to drop some bars or I'm not. Well, I'm not going to drop any bars, so everybody can relax. Mayor Pete, I really don't like this guy. I'm sure he's a cool guy. Maybe he's a really cool dude to hang out with, drink some beers with, some bourbon, you know what I mean? Shoot the breeze, talk politics. But I don't like him in terms of his campaign. Three really big reasons. And this is why it matters. I mean, I'm not just telling you I don't like a person. Obviously, you know that there's some substance here, right? Okay. One, what I just got through saying about Mark Zuckerberg and why he's a unique threat to democracy, him literally, and him as an individual and his company and other companies like that, like Twitter. They're a unique threat to democracy because they're selling it to the highest bidder who can afford to pay them the most and increase their profit margin just for the quarter, because that's all that matters, quarter to quarter. While I just got through talking about that, Pete is now like meeting with Zuckerberg and getting references to people were referred to Pete Buttigieg's campaign from Mark Zuckerberg, and now he's promoting himself as the counterpoint to Elizabeth Warren's attack on Facebook. He's running as the Democratic person who's cool with Facebook. Now, I don't have to go through, because you could just rewind if you want to understand the problem with Facebook. But the second reason, the first reason I don't like him is because he's positioning himself to be the one who is going to embrace and empower Facebook, right? That's a problem. The second reason is that he is relentlessly setting himself up to be the anti-Elizabeth Warren. Now, Elizabeth Warren could be even better than she is, and then we would have Bernie, right? But it's not even good enough for the establishment to have an Elizabeth Warren who is probably 50% progressive, 50% going to keep things the same, you know? And I'm still not falling out of love with her. I'm still going to, I still really like her and I want her in the administration. But the point is that that's not even good enough for the establishment. They need Pete, Mayor Pete, because Mayor Pete is not going to. Matter of fact, he thinks your idea for Medicare for all is just ridiculous. He thinks we need Medicare for all who want it. Which, like Elizabeth Warren said, ultimately means Medicare for all who can afford it. But Mayor Pete he's looked at the condition of society, of America, and said, you know what? I'm going to fight like hell to not change anything. That's his campaign, and that's why he positions himself as the anti-Warren, because as much or as little as Warren would actually change America, it's too effing much for corporate America and for corporate Dems. And so they're propping up Pete Buttigieg to be the anti-Elizabeth Warren, which clearly lets you know what they think about Bernie Sanders. Okay, so that's the second reason I don't like him. The third reason is this article that I just saw tweeted like 5 minutes ago in Noah Chunga's timeline. Buttigieg focus groups found being gay a barrier for black South Carolina voters. Okay, this is a problem for me. While he's going to have problems in the South anyway, and while even if he was not gay, there's a good chance nobody in the South would like his ass for all the reasons that I outlined and then some, notwithstanding the fact that, one, he isn't a known, he has not established his brand enough in the South for him to really be taken into consideration. The narrative that they want to run with is that it's because he's gay. Now, let me tell you something about black folks. Yeah, we go to church. And yeah, we're homophobic. We are. But we are not homophobic to the extent that we believe in discriminating against the LGBTQ community. The data bears it out. While we may not be ardent supporters of gay marriage, we are absolutely against discrimination against anyone because they're gay. Now, one of the things that has not come up in any of the conversations, any discussions on any platform or any media outlet, no one has said a damn thing about his sexuality being a reason he's not getting support. Now, this goes, it's twofold. I take this extremely personally because it is going to create a division. It's going to alienate the black vote, which we absolutely have to get, obviously, but it's going to create a situation where now his team, his support, people who love him are now going to be excoriating black voters because that's what their single focus group found. That out of a focus group of people said, yeah, I don't really know about his sexuality as president. I don't know if we're ready for a gay president. A focus group, right? Not data, not polling data. And I know you can take a focus group, and if you handle it properly, you can come up with a pretty good representation of the population. But this ain't it. This is not it. Because of all the things there are to not like about Pete Buttigieg from the black community, who is traditionally conservative because of our religious background, but one that we do not extend our religious homophobia into the discrimination based on actual polling. Those aren't the reasons. The reason is not his sexuality. But here we go. Here we go with something I have not said in 2019. A phrase that, the hell, I think I coined. Definitely along with Noah and the rest of the team. It's the weaponization of identity politics. The weaponization of identity politics. Identity politics absolutely matter. Despite what some other progressive commentators are going to tell you, the culture war absolutely matters. All those things absolutely matter, but that does not mean that the establishment is not uniquely skilled at weaponizing identity politics. Now, here's what they're going to find. They're going to find probably a handful of black preachers who are going to say that they don't approve of same-sex marriage. And that's going to be the contention. Now, what good does that do? Because obviously you do know, Democrats, you do know if you poke that bear, and maybe it's a bear that should be poked just for hell, just for shits and giggles, right? But if you poke that bear, you are going to push the black vote. You're going to push them to stay home. Because I'm going to be honest with you, like if you target them and you target them to say, oh, you're the problem because you don't like gay people, when that's not actually the case. The case is that the black church has to go a good distance further in their fight for justice to be willing to include same-sex marriage. That's what the case is. And if you think that that is a problem, then you really need to look at Barack Obama, who didn't come on board for same-sex marriage until it was time for re-election. You really need to look at everybody except for Bernie Sanders, who was for gay marriage, same-sex marriage back in the 80s. Okay? So it is not as though this coalition that is tenuous at best is like a beacon of light for justice across the board. Now, setting the whataboutism aside, and I just realized I have to make a correction from yesterday. I'm going to go back and put it at the top of the show. Putting the whataboutism aside, there are plenty of ways for you to win the black vote, gay or not. Because there are issues that the black community already knows we fight side by side with the LGBTQ community. And we do know that there is a homophobic community in the black community, and we are fully aware of it and addressing it every single day, because it's not as though there are not plenty of black LGBT people, family members, church members. It's not as though being LGBT, like the whole premise of the thing, kind of suggests that we, like, there are no gay black people, queer black people, lesbian black people. We have plenty of issues that we have to resolve, but this isn't one of them. Actually, no. Let me restate that. That is an issue that needs to be resolved, but that is not the reason black folks ain't voting for you, homie. Because black folks, we know what we need. We know we need Medicare for all. We know that we're being made bankrupt because of a single sickness. We know we need student loan cancellation. We understand how much we need increases to the minimum wage. We know how much we need a federal jobs guarantee. We know that the government should be doing things for the community, for the nation, and we also know that they haven't been doing a damn thing. So if you come to the community and you talk the right language, people wouldn't think twice about your sexuality because they didn't think about it the first time. So I really hope, and again, this article just came out today, and I have not seen them in action as a result of what their focus group found. But I really hope that they don't weaponize these identity politics in a way that's going to be detrimental to the overall fight. At least that's my hope. All right, folks, that's the entire show. Go to patreon.com, become a patron. Thank you so much for your support. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.